You guys asked, so it continues. The Marvel Zombies Saga. Welcome to the Complete Story Series, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues, and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then I read it dramatically back to you. All alterations of the panel, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. When we last left off, Aaron and Joe Costa had helped stop the zombie outbreak in the armored facility that had crossed over into their dimension, or at least, so they thought, when one and a half escaped. So now Morbius and his team of Midnight Suns are setting out to stop the spread of the outbreak in their world. The two zombies that escaped the armor facility were teleported to the middle of the ocean about a week ago, and since then have been biting a lot of the undersea dwellers, and they're now attacking a cruise ship. Not long after the reports that the cruise ship is under attack, Morbius and the Midnight Suns rush in to contain the zombies. The first of that group, Jack Russell, quickly jumps through the portal, transforming into his werewolf form, and he begins slashing and ripping apart the zombie sea creatures. Right behind him comes Jennifer Kale, the survivor from the first contact group that was sent to Florida, and next down is Damian Hellstrom, burning away anything that moves. Finally, closing out the portal jumps Morbius himself, firing canisters filled with an oxidizing bacteria that, when exposed to the zombie virus, proved to be rather explosive. However, before being sent down, Morbius developed a vaccine to protect the team in case they get bitten. But unlike other vaccines, there's a slight chance they may develop a full-blown version of the disease themselves. Elsewhere though, the two escapees, Simon Garth and the head of Zombie Pool, emerge onto the beaches of the island nation of Taino in the Caribbean Sea. Simon, holding the head of Zombie Pool, begins to walk up to the beach and into the forest, and as the two of them make their way through, Zombie Pool says that ever since he lost his body, he really doesn't feel the hunger anymore. Who knew losing 93% of your body would mass cure your zombiness? Now it's just time to settle down. But as Zombie Pool goes on talking, Simon doesn't say anything, and Zombie Pool tells him that's what he likes about him, just letting his actions speak for themselves. But where are we going, Simon? Zombie Pool looks around and he sees them walking through the camp, and he notices the chemicals that they are using. They're making drugs, cocaine to be specific. Simon continues on until they walk into a cave and see a man sitting, and the man tells Simon that he knows that he's a zombie. But what is that? Simon explains that the head is all that remains of the mercenary named Deadpool from a different dimension, and the man tells him that he is Black Talon, and Zombie Pool says, for a cool name like that, you totally ruined it by dressing like that. You really need to get your priorities in order. Talon then says that he holds the amulet of Damballa, the same as the one around Simon's neck, which is why he was drawn here. However, it doesn't control the other dead, regrettably, so they put them in the pen. Zombie Pool shouts out, oh hell no, no one is caging this bird. This looks like a job for the merc with only a mouth. And he leaps in, biting one of Talon's guards. However, it is short-lived as another guard skewers Zombie Pool's head to a stick to stop him. A short while later, Talon sits down speaking on an intercom, stating how he may have come across something of interest, something that could destroy all of the heroes permanently. And on the other line, the Hood sits telling him to go on. He's listening. Back out at sea, the cruise ship the Midnight Suns were on begins to sail towards the beaches of the island. But as it gets closer, it explodes! And on the shore, Jennifer teleports Jack and Morbius down. And Morbius tells him, that was close, but where's Damian? Through the burning ship, Damian calls out that his concern is appreciated, but the fires of this Earth do not burn him. So he figured that he would just ignite the engine before landfall. Over in Hell's Kitchen at Hood's hideout, some of his men questioned Talon's intentions for selling them an end-of-the-world weapon, stating that the Armageddon might be bad for business. The voice of Dormammu says, perhaps it might, but as long as you, Parker Robbins, wear the Hood of Nishanti, you serve a higher calling. Since the spells of their world's Sorcerer Supreme prevented him from acting directly in this plane of existence, he must deploy thralls, such as Parker Robbins. And he wants this virus, and since he wants it, so does Parker Robbins. Not long after that, Hood and the rest of his men appear before Talon, but as they do, Dormammu tells his human puppet to beware. Enemies are approaching them from the jungles. Out in the jungle, the Midnight Suns come across a grave, but Damon mentions that he feels like they're being watched by entities far beyond his comprehension. As they get closer, they begin to notice the graves here have been hollowed out, and with a quick swing, Morbius is cracked across the face with a shovel. Soon, members of the Night Shift all jump out, and they begin to attack each Midnight Sun. Needle leaps out, stabbing Damon with a needle, while Danson begins to stop Jennifer from using her powers. While stunned, Danson jumps in to kick Jennifer away, and Digger begins to bury Morbius. As the dirt is thrown on him, Morbius tells him that he spilled his blood. He really shouldn't have done that. Digger laughs at him, asking why, and Morbius jumps out of the grave, telling him because now he wants more. Damon begins to burn away the needle that stabbed him, and then he turns his focus to Tatter and starts shooting fire. Everyone shifts who they're attacking to, and Hood says that they've disappointed him. They're just a bunch of wannabe heroes. And Morbius tells him, "You're wrong." And then as he turns to look at him, Morbius' face begins to drip with blood from Danson telling him, "We're not heroes, we're monsters." Jennifer tells him that he needs to snap out of it. Zombies are starting to make their way towards them, and Morbius pulls out his gun and begins firing. Except this time, the zombies are not just exploding, they're releasing a gas, one that is spreading the zombie virus. Hood begins to ask what the heck is going on, and Morbius says that his vaccine, the zombie virus, has mutated in reaction to it, and it's evolved. Jennifer begins to have flashbacks to when she fought Zombie-Pool, stating it's happening again, and then she hears a voice. Dormammu appears before her, stating, "No, I can grant your powers. All you need to do is take my hand." Dormammu goes on, telling her that he knows that she studied under Dogma the Enchanter himself, but she merely lets him baptize her. She could effortlessly destroy any undead. Jennifer tells him that she doesn't want to save her skin from the brain munchers just to corrupt her soul, and that she breaks a vial. The liquid seeps into the ground and the roots begin to grow, and then before long, a swamp walker stands behind her. The swamp walker swings at Dormammu, but his arm just passes through and he says that he is just only a projection. Jennifer says that she can also dispel him from even doing that, so whatever he's selling, she ain't buying. But before fading away, he tells Jennifer, "I will go, but if you desire my aid, just call my name." After escaping the zombie cloud, the sun begins to rise and the group sets up in an abandoned building. Jack mentions that the winds are changing towards the west, going towards the resorts and the innocent villages. And Morbius says, "I know, right? We just need more data." And Jack says, without their immunity to the undead virus, he doesn't know how they'll. But Jennifer stops him, stating, "Immunity? Well, she brought some mud from a swamp in Florida just in case they needed to summon an old friend. So everyone, meet Man-Thing." A little ways off in a small village, the townspeople begin running and screaming as Zombie-Pool begins to shout, "Don't be alarmed! We're not going to eat you! That's just an ugly stereotype! We're just life impaired and looking for a place to call our own! We will work!" But before long, the zombie cloud begins to cover the town, and with it, the cloud begins to rain. However, the rain from it is a red rain, one that transforms people into the zombies. Back with the group, everyone heads over to Talon's plantation, and as the doors open, Talon tells Hood to hurry to him so he can call upon protection. However, Hood runs over punching him, telling him to shut up, and Morbius asks, why side with them? The Hood then tells him that that guy is just a tool. The monster squid that is Man-Thing seems to actually know what they're doing, so yeah, unlikely team up. Meanwhile, Man-Thing walks through the rain. Even though he isn't fully immune to the virus, he gains his powers from the earth, and the earth is replenishing him quicker than the rain can dissolve him. While Jennifer keeps her eyes open, Morbius then contacts Arbor to report their current status. Charles says that he can see that they have a problem. Their computers are showing that the cloud will spread within an hour to the coast, so unless they can stop it before then, they're going to have to issue an orbital nuclear strike on the entire island. Elsewhere though, Simon and Zombie-Pool head to one of the resorts while Zombie-Pool shouts that they're being followed by some giant swamp thing. Help! But before Razorwire can say that he'll save them and stop the monster with extreme prejudice, the rain follows and begins to burn him, Ogre, and Lightning Fist. Man-Thing continues his pursuit of Simon, and the rain begins to remake the three heroes into one large undead creature. The creature blasts away Man-Thing's arm, and just as he goes to regrow it, it then splits him with a lamppost. Man-Thing breaks off the post and begins to fuse back together and then swings at the creature, but before it could attack, the creature grabs the post, holding Man-Thing off the ground. Man-Thing's body begins to dissolve, and Jennifer calls out that they are too late. Man-Thing is dead. She then begins to cry at the loss of the Man-Thing, and then she hears Jack from behind her telling her that the only thing that they should fear is fear itself, so let him show her. Let the hunger show her. Jennifer begins to panic, and throughout it, she calls out to him, Dormammu! Dormammu! Downstairs, Morbius begins to talk to Damon about their next move regarding the nuclear strike, and that's when he's zapped, and a voice says, she has a better idea. She'll seize control of the mist, so that her Lord Dormammu can lay total domination to this world. Jennifer then begins to call upon the undead night shift to keep Morbius and the rest at bay while she projects herself up into the virus cloud. What she sees, though, is that the virus is now acting as a single collective mind, one that she can control. But there's a second mind here. What formidable genius could possess the willpower to evoke this swirling mass psyche? And then she hears scratching. Among the mist, she sees Zombie-Pool, now with a body, stating that it's so great to actually scratch that phantom limb. Nice bikini, by the way. Jennifer says that it was him who hurt her before. He shall die, and she fires a blast, exploding Zombie-Pool's newly formed body. A short while later, Simon picks up Zombie-Pool's head and he says, for a moment, I was a part of something bigger than myself. Like I finally had a home. But even in there, they found me. But looking back at that swamp, whatchamacallit thing that's chasing us, I kind of envy him. From the remains of the Man-Thing, though, a hand begins to form. Simon walks out to the pier and Zombie Pool tells him, "You know, we'll always be chased. I'm starting to think we should just let ourselves get caught. Just end it all now, Simon." Back in the plantation, Jennifer begins to attack Damon, and he tells her that she's not Jennifer, and a voice tells him, "Of course not! It's Patsy, your wife." Patsy leans in telling him, how about they just forget about this Dormammu nonsense? And he pushes her back and Jennifer begins laughing, calling him a weakling. Damon grabs a hold of Jennifer, telling her that she doesn't have to run. They are the Midnight Suns, they bring the light to darkness. Slowly, Damon's arm begins to burn, and then Dormammu begins to scream no as Jennifer begins to reject him from inside herself. While Morbius continues to struggle with Jack, he calls out to Jennifer, stating that he studied Jack before they left. His biochemistry changes under a full moon. Jack Russell might be infected. And as Morbius throws him away, Jennifer says, "But not the werewolf!" And she casts a spell, shining moonlight, and Jack changes. Once Morbius helps Jennifer back up, she says that they need to transform the hive mind into something. And Morbius grabs Talon, telling him that they need his voodoo. Together, Jennifer and Talon begin to channel the hive mind, and Talon says, who are they going to use to contain the virus mind? They destroyed all of his zombies. And then everyone hears a creak and sees Simon. And Jennifer shouts, "He will do." The channeled hive mind then begins to enter Simon, and once it's done, Hood says they really did him and the night shift a solid, saving their bacon. So we won't have to whack the whole lot of them. Next time though, not so much. Everyone looks at Simon, stating that they need a new place to contain Mr. Garth, with him being the sole carrier now, and his only friend Zombie Pool is dead. Elsewhere though, out at sea, Zombie Pool is on a boat singing, "Thank you, Simon, you're the best friend a head has ever had." Now, that concludes the 4th story in the Marvel Zombie Saga. I need you guys to decide what you want more of now. Do you want to follow the Zombie Pool head? Because it has its own stories in which it meets up with Deadpool and they find an answer to it. Or do you want to go back to Spider-Man, Wolverine, the Hulk, and that whole crew? The individuals who are currently traveling in space as ultimate cosmic-powered zombies. Let me know in the comments down below who you want to hear from next week. We'll do them both eventually, but we can only do one at a time. Follow me on Twitter at Comicstorian and Instagram at Comicstorian, and I'll see you next time right here.